Jason, our main conversation today is going to be about Warfare, the sort of new movie from Alex Garland, though I would say it's really more of a movie from this guy, Ray Mendoza, who is like a military consultant on several Hollywood movies, including Garland's last film, Civil War. And the story that I've kind of understood is like him and Garland were just sort of talking, shooting the shit on Civil War. And Mendoza told him about this, dream project he wanted to do. Basically wanted to make a movie about this real life battle that he was caught up in when he was serving in Iraq. And one of his fellow troops was unconscious throughout much of that battle, and to sort of like recreate the experience of saving this other guy so as to sort of like bring it back and show him like, hey, this is what we, went through to bring you home. And Garland loving that idea and being like, I'm going to help you get this to the screen. And so they're both listed as co-directors. The film stars, I would say, pretty much like every British boy in Hollywood. Like,
yeah,
if you're a young actor and you're in the UK, you're probably in this movie.
Yeah, Joseph Quinn, Will Poulter, Michael Gandolfini are probably the three biggest names, but there's several other. And to be clear, this is not a movie about the characters. I barely knew the name of any of the characters. This is a gritty, real, visceral, brutal, tense film that screams or is hell for everyone to hear. It's not interested in the narrative. It's not interested in a plot. It is interested in, it's very stripped down. It's just interested in like putting you in this moment, 2 hours inside of a dogfight and being like, okay, how are you going to get out of here alive? And it is, I want to be clear. I don't think this film is for everyone.
No, definitely not.
Yeah.
It's one that I'm kind of glad that, we saw this a few weeks ago, and even now as we're recording, it's a few weeks out from release. I'm kind of glad that this wasn't a situation where we had like immediately had to jump in and like record a pod for it. Because
by the way, it gets released on Friday the 11th.
Okay, so a week roughly. But it is one of those that I'm glad I had time to sort of work through my feelings on it, because as you said, it is such a, on a technical level, it is this like incredible, visceral, like, enveloping experience that like really puts you in the shoes of, what it must be like to get caught up in a firefight and how.
I don't think I've ever heard war sound as good as this in a film.
Yeah, and it's all about sort of even beyond the kind of sounds of gunfire and the sort of smoke and haze of combat, enveloping you in the minutia of what these soldiers have to do on sort of a daily basis, with all of the, checking out different buildings and having to kind of like do cross checks. I'm sure there's some sort of like army vet that's going to be like, you're explaining this all wrong, but I'm not. I only had a parent that was in the military. I can't explain it. But it is this sort of like, as you said, it is putting you in the shoes of this experience, though walking out I don't know, I've been wrestling with both respecting this movie a lot and feeling like, it's obviously very well made, and there obviously is this very personal behind the scenes story for the movie. We were lucky enough to listen to Ray kind of explain a lot of the decision making behind why he chose to portray certain things the way he did in this movie and what the project sort of means to him. Though in the weeks since seeing it, I think it has left a little in my mind, just because I think outside of the sort of immediacy and the viscera of it didn't quite have as much for sort of me just as an audience and a spectator to hold on to, and sort of felt like this very accomplished, very affecting recreation of something that was like very personal for the person who made it to go through. I don't know. I'm sort of still struggling to figure out how I feel about it, of like respecting it a lot, but it not quite being a movie I love, and like I love that he made it, but it's sort of being like I'm glad that you did this for you sort of thing, if that makes sense.
Well, my feeling on it is this. because we don't get to know the characters' names, their backgrounds. We don't necessarily connect with them other than seeing them there in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's not telling a story, it is dropping us into a moment in time. It's not telling a complete story. And also because, and you kind of mentioned this, they're constantly using military jargon.
Mm-hmm.
Like the way they communicate is code words and the such. And as a result, we as an audience are constantly like, I don't necessarily even understand what they're talking about right now.
Right.
Because of all those things, it is not it's not a usual movie going experience. And we don't, when you look back on it, you don't go, oh, remember when this happened? Because this is the whole damn thing. So there aren't moments of the plot or moments of, I guess, other than maybe an explosion going off here or there, but there are frankly so many explosions that I can't, like you and I, if we talk about it, we can't go, oh, remember when that happened?
Right.
Because
the one moment of that I don't want to spoil for anyone who hasn't seen the movie is the opening, which I did find a very creative way to sort of build kind of an immediate sense of empathy with these guys.
Yeah, I
to
mean,
to
a
get
little
into
bit,
that
but
would kind of, I think, spoil what it is, and I think it's such a fun kind of diversion moment of like how you expect the movie to begin. But yeah, I agree with you. And this is the movie I think is closest to this was something like Black Hawk Down, but even that movie, I think, has all of this sort of narrative before the sort of firefight begins to sort of introduce you to these characters in a way that this movie is basically just like, you're in the room with these guys, it's 90 minutes, and you're going to go through what it would be like in 90 minutes to basically like be trapped in a house as enemy soldiers are surrounding you and firing grenades at you.
Yeah. The whole movie is, can we get out of this alive?
Mm-hmm.
And it is incredibly high quality, well-made film with some gritty, real performances. But like we said, it's not for everyone. You've got to be prepared for what you're going into. You've got to know that you're not going into a story. You're going into a moment. And those are two very, very different things.